happens here with the CPUs, if anything. And then I'll push over here on Twitch. Okay, so then I'm going to start our recording. Yeah, let's start the recording. So, welcome, Matt Charnoski. Yeah, so we've been having a conversation. So we're just kind of getting ready for the podcast, everybody, and hopefully everything will turn out okay. I really ask for your support right off the bat, sharing the show out to your profile. I mean, it's a real simple 2-second thing you guys can do. Oh, by the way, Matt, we're not on camera right now, just kind of a slideshow and build up. Texas, Dallas, Texas, out of Dallas, Texas, Matt Charnoski is with me live out of Dallas, Texas. Starts in about 5 minutes, is on the screen, along with Finish Line, your logoed video, and a slideshow of some of your guitars and your setup there, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I've been doing producing for quite a while, and I know you have too. How long have you been doing producing?
Hey boy, it depends on what level you're talking. I mean, I know you asked me about this, but I've been doing it ever since they were making these. I got this when I was about 15 years old, and been recording in various capacities ever since. Obviously, there was a gap there, from that to, going into a real studio to, the home recording equipment we have today, right. Which it all built off of the cassette multi-track, though, that I got, I believe it was for my 15th birthday. And I still have it. And I still even have the tapes that I recorded back then, which I had to dig it out the other night, and I couldn't find it. I was like, I know I didn't throw it away. It's in here somewhere, and I found it wrapped in a blanket. Like I wrapped it up years ago, to keep dust off it and stuff. And I found the tapes, and even last night I was popping the tapes in, and I'm like, wow, there's so much good stuff here that, I did so long ago. It just feels like a lifetime ago that I recorded this on here. And it really surprised me how good I was back then, especially at guitar, because by nature, I'm a guitarist. That's my forte. I've been doing it for 40 years. I started when I was 8. And so a lot of this other music is just, I've had to expand, throughout this to accommodate, other people doing this business who, want different types of music. And so, I won't say I've done everything, but I'll try anything, stylistically wise. So as far as, from that to this was, a long time, and it took a lot of work to where, I could finally, do this full time rather than, more of like a side gig. So, and obviously I, built, put all this together in my house. Took years to, fully treat this room to, using room art EQ wizard and stuff like that to get the acoustics right, and, to save up money for good equipment, stuff like that. So it's been a decades long project. It never stops. You never stop learning, and and there's always new opportunities to to explore and new styles and ways to expand yourself and different services. It's like these days, you're not going to make a living off Spotify. You're not going to make a living on, you could YouTube. I guess there's, some people that do very good on there.
I guess.
And Spotify, if you're within the top, 1 or 2%.
That's what they say anyway.
But realistically, you have to provide services, like I do, production and stuff like that for, for other people to, in addition to, my own, personal aspirations as a songwriter myself. So it's more of that and less of the songwriting myself right now, which, you know, I wish I had more time to, you know, work on my own songs, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that tonight.
But yeah, I've been, you know, it's been doing pretty good lately. And, you know, the more this kind of stuff I do, and the more, you know, attention that attracts as well. So, lately, you know, I get generally what happens is someone will have, like, you know, a halfway recorded song, and they'll just kind of send me the tracks, and, you know, and I'll mix it, master it, you know, do my own artistic interpretation of what they want.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's correct. And, you know, and then they will, you know, be happy. Hopefully. I haven't really had any complaints yet, so that's good.
What kind of clients do you have mostly?
Yeah, it's a lot of you know, people. It might just be, you know, a guitar track and a vocal, and they'll say, you know, just build a song around it, or it's I'll help them write it, or it's just they want something mastered, you know, really quick, which is, you know, I've done it so much lately. I've gotten pretty good at it, you know, or, you know, really good at it. Actually, I surprised myself. You know, I'm just like, you know, it's just like one day I just kind of something snapped, and it just. I've always had this thing for EQ, you know, whether it was like on a boombox or, you know, whatever. It's just like I just had to have it set right, and I just, you know, was always able to kind of just use an EQ, you know, not to use the presets, and it was not something that I practiced or learned. It just kind of came to me, and I think that's like the key to mixing, is like to, you know, carving out spaces, you know, for all the instruments to play. Like, I mean, that song sounds really loud, but actually a lot of it is that I carved out spaces for the instruments, you know, so they all have their own space within the spectrum. So that's part of the reason why it sounds so loud, or that one in particular. But I mean, I can back up a lot if you if you want me to, like where I got started. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my standpoint, you know, I just like to learn. From my standpoint, I was like, just like, I think similar to your story, I had brothers that were into music.
Yeah. So okay.
Yeah.
So when I was in my earliest memories, I lived right across the street from my grandmother. My mother and father bought a house, and it was right across the street from my grandmother. Might have been a bad idea, and you know, anyways, another story. But my uncle, who is really not that much older than me, he's only about 10 years older, had a band, and all my uncles played guitar in one capacity or another, but he actually had a band that practiced in the basement, and I was over there all the time, you know, from my earliest memories, watching them, and I mean, like 5 years old, young. And by the time I was 8, I was gifted a really beat up acoustic guitar and shown like a 12-bar blues pattern. So once I learned that, I could not put the thing down, because I couldn't believe it. I was playing it. It wasn't like any specific song. It was just, I knew the pattern, and it's used in tons of songs, you know, throughout the decades. And so I played that thing until, you know, my fingers were raw. And finally, I started, you know, getting serious about it. And, you know, my mother could see, you know, I was really, you know, into this, really wanted, you know, a real guitar. So I got my first electric guitar, you know, about a year later. It was a Fender Music Master. And I wish I still had it, because they're worth thousands of dollars now. That wasn't the case at the time, you know, back in the 80s. But I started playing that, and I did take formal lessons for a little while. I didn't, maybe 2-3 years out of, you know, the 40 that I've been playing. So I'm not as much as a technical player as I do it, more by feel or ear, which, it could be a good thing, bad thing. Maybe you might step out of the box a little bit more if you play that way. Maybe, maybe you're missing something, if you don't know the technical side, I don't know. But it is what it is. I feel confident with my playing and feel comfortable with it. So obviously that led me to, start playing in bands as of, middle school. And, before I knew it, a lot of the local guys who played in the bars were, having us come and open for them. But, this was like, the 1980s. Nobody cared if there was a bunch of 13-year-old kids in there playing at that time. So I did that, just kind of following bands around, that would allow us to, to open up for them. And that turned into, around 17, going out and actually, going on the road, which, was kind of a problem with school sometimes. But
how old were you when you first did that?
When I first started playing like outside of in different states, about 17, and continued to do that. This was like kind of like during the independent label boom. So I was signed to one of those, the small indie labels, during the 90s, and put out 2 albums. And we just kind of called it quits. It was just not. It was not something I wanted to do. I got really tired of sleeping in the back of a Ryder truck, and stuff like that. It just wasn't fun. I mean, or not what I thought it was going to be at all. And I kind of, escaped back into, just songwriting. And as soon as I left that, the first thing I did was I booked studio time, because, we're talking like maybe 1998, home recording. I knew that this 4-track wasn't going to cut it, for one. So, I started booking studio time, write my own songs, got some friends to come, to help, fill in, for studio musicians, and made more of an EP that way. It was like maybe 5 or 6 songs. Excuse me. So then I do that for a little while, and I make the move to Dallas, and I kind of started. I'd already had some songs I recorded at Catamount, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that sounded very awesome. That I was able to, easily get played on local radio here. I mean, they really kind of ate them up. It's so much so I actually went in and I was in 2 or 3 radio shows. The problem was I didn't have a band, and I didn't want one, because everyone was just so. I had tried that here briefly, and I'm just like, you know what, I don't like it. I can't deal with people not showing up or being flaky and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't care. And they're like, wait, you don't have a band? You're not going to play it? No, I'm not. If you want to, I'll play it for you in the studio here, with an acoustic guitar. Yeah, okay, well, that's fine. And so I did that, and that kind of, as soon as those awesome Catamount recordings, like, how would you call it? Like, made their way in and out of the, the popularity thing. I didn't have anything to go off of, so
right.
I started buying, computer recording equipment. This was around 2001 ish, which was still pretty primitive. It's still very expensive, at the time. Yeah. And I wasn't very good at it, So sure. I put out, a few things that just, were okay-ish, and didn't get much traction. It wasn't until I really started taking it, really looking outside the box of just, guitar playing. I mean, we're still talking early 2000s here. This is like, the guitar in the band was very still in vogue at that time. Mm-hmm. But it was, it was on its way out. And so I started, picking up using, orchestral instruments, a lot of orchestral instruments in songs. And, I basically quit singing myself. I never was a great singer. I never everyone will say otherwise, but nobody likes their own voice, from what I've gathered. And so I just was more like, I just don't want to sing anything anymore. I just, so my wife sings, so I on my own recordings, I have her sing on them because she's got a beautiful voice, and so that works out, really, really well. But as far as like what I've been up to lately is more of getting into the sync licensing part of the business, which kind of it's been a learning experience, and I'm still learning, especially as far as techniques. As you can tell, those songs are very busy. They're probably not good for dialogue. I'm just doing what feels good for me kind of right now. And stuff that I like, because I can tame those way down and make stems out of them, and but I'm learning how to go from writing the way that I used to this kind of new style where you're just kind of the background person. You're not really, this isn't about you anymore. This is about the characters on the TV show. You're just you're not even in the music business hardly. You're more in the television business. So the songs are really, and I'm working on one now that's really, kind of a dramatic type, for, scene and stuff like that. I'm trying to categorize like the two you have. I'm trying to make an album out of those that's kind of, centered around, kind of the, not too hip hoppy, but somewhat. I don't know why I started there, but I just did.
Hip hop.
It just I made one, and I'm just like, okay, these people are making whole albums, and that's how they're doing.
Are you talking about Traffic or the other one?
Both of them.
Okay, yeah.
Both of them are very much, but out of character for me.
Electronic, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, electronic.
Yeah,
to put it simply.
I've been doing the same kind of stuff, and we'll get into some of that, and then we'll get into that. So yeah, here's like this song here is called Traffic that you did. So yeah, it's really cool, and it's a long track. Really good theme music.
I think that's the other one. I think that's the Finish Line.
Oh, is that Finish Line?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll listen to both of them by the time the night's over.
Sure.
So anyway. Yeah. So so your family had some history in music, you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
My uncles for sure, and
Right.
that's definitely what got me started on this. And the funny thing is despite the fact that I live 1,000 miles away, all 4 of my nephews have started playing guitar without my influence anyway,
Right.
which is kind of strange.
Right.
That all the 4 of the nephews just wanted to play guitar, and it wasn't because of me. They just gravitated towards it. So it just kind of, there's something in the family here that just kind of gravitates towards mainly guitar, but music in general.
Yeah. And and so now going forward, do you and your family ever get together to do music?
Not so. When I go up there, sometimes me and my nephew or my uncle will get together. It's usually around the holidays or Christmas, something like that. And yeah, I play a little bit. It's not a normal, typical thing, but it happens.
Yeah. And so when you're recording, some of the tools that we talked about, that 4-track. Now you show the audience the 4-track,
Sure.
because me and you started on 4-track cassettes, and so I had one similar to this one.
Yeah, this is like circa
And,
1990.
Yeah, and then I'll show you guys. I hope the lighting's my lighting's getting a little dark here. So this is my. So then I gravitated after that to this zip drive.
Yeah, I had one of those too. I had a Korg one, very similar.
And I still use this for tap tracks and everything.
Yeah.
But some of the other, everybody's aware of the devices and stuff like that. What are your what are your favorite tools you're using today to produce music?
Like hardware or software?
I would say hardware. I'm going to ask hardware first. If you have anything new that you like.
Yeah, definitely the analog converter. I just
Analog?
not cheap, but it gives you that extra 5 or 10% that
that you can't get from the
Right.
digital.
I've got some compressors here. This Drummer compressor that I had it modified by Revive Audio. Everything in this rack is basically modified gear. It's like a lot of it. The only original thing is the box that it came in.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do a lot of that. I build my own microphones. That one up there was built off of a message board, just with a bill of materials. It's a C12 clone. It's about the most accurate one you could possibly find. Because the guy that put the design up, he, just did a short run of the like 1-to-1, like not only the mic but the power supply to make the most accurate one possible. And it was, he left it up for a while and it was just gone. So I can't, if I want to build another one, I really can't, unless I find somebody that can make these PCBs or whatever, because they seem to be not being able to be found. But if you want a real one, good luck finding one. And if you do, you're going to spend 20 grand at least on a on a 50s C12. So most of the stuff I build, I have a whole case of like
Okay, so an
vintage.
analog converter right now is your favorite, really, right?
Yeah, that
So far.
I would usually, when I'm recording, I usually go in through a compressor, some light compression going in, just to add a little bit of color. And I've got some preamps here. I got a golden age preamp that really the only original thing in it is the box. It's been totally gutted and upgraded to more of like the original Nev design. And it sounds fantastic. I mean, I'm not talking through it now. It's got a little bit too much color for for a this type of stuff. But right now I'm going straight into the converter to the so it's it's pretty clean. Well, I'm going to the compressor, then to the converter.
Earlier you were talking about the frustration of not being able to work on your own music a lot. Due to, we're creative, but we also have to make a living in our media production. So what's the most frustrating thing about being a musician in general? And then also the creative type, but also then the business side. And, what are some of your frustrations with building it? Or what, I'm sure you went through some pains like I have been through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
mean, musicians are generally terrible business people, so that's one thing that I had to pick up on. That was definitely frustrating. And another thing is, I mean, I when I was working on my own stuff, I don't even call those tracks really my own. I mean, it's my own music, but that's not what I'm about. When I think about writing songs, I think about emotion. I through words, through different types of phrasing, musical arrangements, and that's what gets me flowing. As much as I do like making those little beats and stuff like that, because they're quick. I can knock them out. Hopefully someday I'll see a return on them. But nothing compares to finishing an entire 3 or 4 minute song with full of lyrics, beautiful lyrics that I I'll spend like sometimes months on on one song. There's sometimes it'll only take a week, but that's the exception, not the rule. And that's usually because I'll get in this zone, like when I'm working on a song, or if one particular song, it's like I don't even like to listen to anything else because it's distracting. It's like if the radio's on in the car, I'm like, shut it off, because I'm rolling the song through my head, and then you got whatever playing on the radio, whatever the current hit song is. I'm like, shut it off.
Right.
You're just distracting by songwriting.
I get pissed off at radio stations for playing same stuff for 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
They don't promote
it's like you're trying to
new.
sort the song out. You don't want to be thinking about whatever is new going through your head.
Right, a good suggestion for radio stations: they should scout out and talk to producers.
Yeah, they should.
So, but that's so your frustrations with building. What do you call your business other than I know you're a music producer.
It's kind of an acronym, but GABA Music Works.
Yeah, let's talk about GABA then for a little bit.
I started that last year. I needed some kind of brand. I realized I'm not brandable. I'm not young. I'm not sexy. I'm not. I needed something else to do this off of. And I'm not an artist. I don't consider myself a performing artist. None of that. So I started that to facilitate a lot of these things and facilitate the transactions.
I'm going to go off camera just for a second. So your logo's up high or up on half the screen, and then you're on there. So
okay.
Talk about the correct pronunciation.
Okay. And, I think it's GABA. I mean, I named it after like the brain chemical that it makes your emotion.
Like my dyslexia, right?
Yeah.
See, that's our creative types. I think we something happened to us. Maybe we were, I'm
right.
not sure.
So that's where that came from, really, and nobody else was using it. It was hard to find a name to, when you plug it into, to ASCAP or whatever, and see if the name's available. So I started that to essentially create production services and songwriting services, and a way to work with other artists and help them create their vision for their song, if they're not able to fully do that, and collaboration as well. If you go on GABAmusicworks.com, GABAmusicWRKS.com, you'll see several artists there that I've either written or mixed or produced or mastered, all the songs on there. There's definitely more to come. It's fairly new, so I'm getting my feet wet pretty quickly, actually. Another side of that is like the sync licensing side of it, and that is something that is pretty new to me, and so I'm really just now getting into it. And right now my goal is just to make several themed albums that I can use to hopefully attract the attention of a music supervisor or anyone that's looking to utilize those tracks for music, be it exclusive or or not exclusive, depending on what it's for. So I really don't people always ask me like, what's your rates? And my answer always is, I don't really know, because are you sending me like a song that's like 80% complete, or are you just sending me a vocal and want me to write the the song around it, I mean, that's a huge difference right there. So generally when people ask me questions like that, I will say, well, let me hear it. And, then I can give you more of, a way better idea. A great example was just last night, a guy asked me, he's like, I got 3 songs here. How much for you, produce, mix, and master them, and I told him, $500 a song. And he was like, oh, well, that seems, a little high. And I'm like, well, let me hear it. Cause he wouldn't, send or didn't send him over. I wouldn't say wouldn't, because he did, but he sent him over, and I heard him, and, they're like 80% complete. And I'm like, geez, I can do these for $100 each. Sure. No problem. So that's a big part of it. It's like, not, you don't know if you can't, if someone calls you up and say, hey, I need my plumbing fixed. Well, what do you need fixed? I'm gonna have to come look at it before I can give you a dollar amount, of, what it's going to take to fix this. Or, if need be, a couple times, and I've only done this twice, was like pro bono work. And that was just because I had stumbled across something that was so amazing and moving that I just had to record it, or produce it. One time it was just a girl from the UK, and it was basically just a guitar and a vocal, and it was just one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. And it was just like, she wasn't asking for this, but I'm just like, hey, I really love this, and I would love to just produce this just for my own enjoyment, more than anything. And she's like, that's fine, go for it. And I'm like, sure, I'll have at it, So boy, did I have at it. And I turned it, into a song, and she wanted me to release it, under my name. She didn't, really had no interest in it. It was more of a, I made one song, and that's my music career, and I'm good with that. So I was happy to do it, and then one other time there was a guy that I did that with as well, who it was something very similar, a guy from Italy, and I did that also. That's the exception. I don't hardly ever do that. It's because when you're doing stuff for free, you're just kind of screwing the next guy, which it technically wasn't free. I get a percentage of it, but it's not much, and I don't really have the authority license to it. But yeah, it's really anytime, and I'm willing to try anything. I've done multiple styles, orchestral, some country, rock, hip hop. Trying to think if there's anything else. I'll try and but I will absolutely try anything. I've had some really crazy stuff sent my way that I wasn't familiar with, and I had to do a lot of homework on to see how people actually structure these songs, and really what goes into it, like what instruments are they using, what how are they put together? Because even one time somebody sent me like some Norwegian like hymns or something. It was very out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I just figured it out. It wasn't difficult. I'm learning to be more flexible, and the more I do that, the better I get. It's like you just because I'm incorporating these things into my own songs now, like subconsciously almost. I'm not,
right.
I don't even think about it. It's like I
was going to ask you about copyright stuff, and
copyright. Okay.
I'm putting music out all the time, and I run it through my own numbering system now.
Mm-hmm.
For code, I guess. I don't even know if it's working or whatever, but
yeah.
But I do want to register all these new songs I've been putting out, and every time Sony Music puts a slap on me on Facebook, Have you had any issues with that?
No, I've heard it though. I've heard people getting slaps on their own songs, like quite like on Spotify and stuff like that. Pretty. It's not unusual, and it seems to be a growing thing, especially on YouTube. A lot of the channels I watch are getting slapped left and right with copyright. Just for anything, even if it's their own music. I think it's I don't know if it's someone intentionally doing this maliciously or or who's doing that. But back to the copyright question. I used to copyright all my stuff, and there's two ways to do it. There's the expensive way and the cheap way. The cheap way is to do it in a collection. Like as you might be aware of, is like you can do like 10 or 15 songs and call it a collection and just pay the one fee. What I found, I stopped doing that, and the reason I stopped doing that is because back when I copyrighted my stuff, we're talking like you were sending out tapes and CDs that didn't have any traceable, copyright on them. You could write copyright on them all day, but no one knows when that was made or who made it. But now it's like the second you uploaded something to YouTube, it's documented. I mean, that should hold up in a court of law, no problem. I don't see why it wouldn't. And even the metadata that you can insert into the song, which I do all my songs that way now. And as a matter of fact, I would encourage everyone else to do that too. And by what I mean by that is not just your name and your title, but you want some kind of contact info, and you want your whatever PRO you're using, your IPI number in there. That way, if anyone because once the song goes out digitally, Lord knows where it could end up. and by who, you don't know who's going to end up with it and may want to use it. So that's got all your information, like the metadata. You can get paid. They have everything that they need to use the song, unless that song is under contract with another company, which I have. I have some more songs like that are. I'm not even allowed to play them really because they got the exclusive rights to them now. But as far as that's why I don't copyright anymore. It seems like it's a piece of paper. Now, if you're really paranoid and you really want to safeguard it, yeah, sure. There's not a problem with it, but I mean, there's just so many ways that you could prove without a reasonable doubt that you made this song. These
Right.
days that
it's still copywritten once you put it to paper or whatever you
Right.
do in terms of lyrics and stuff, and you can copyright the song itself, or the creation itself is copyrighted.
Right.
Still, but so that's fine. My thing was what about the BMIs of the world and ASCAPs,
Okay.
where they're uncensored. They just kind of go around and collect a bunch of money.
Yeah, pretty much. Payments are quarterly on those. Now, they say that you cannot be a member of both, but I've actually found a way around that.
Oh, I think
it's
you can.
very
Yeah,
simple.
I thought you could, but
I don't know why, but it won't let you. I can't have two of me on one. So the way around it is to have one BMI, maybe you say Joe Charter BMI, and ASCAP you would set yourself up as a publisher. You can still collect the same way. You still have an IPI number, but now you have one for each. So if the entity you're working with works with one or the other, you're covered both ways.
yeah.
So when I do my metadata, I type in IPI numbers for each. So
Do you just create these numbers and plug them into the metadata forms?
Yeah.
In the file.
Yeah, and your IPI number is not your member ID.
Do you make these numbers up, or
no?
Okay.
It's you have
You're talking
member
about
ID, and then you have an IPI number, and it's assigned to you.
Right. Oh,
and there's a way to find it. It's just not as easy to find as your member number.
Okay.
There's a few steps, like you got to go like click one of your registrations. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's how you get paid, is your IPI number, not your member ID. I think that's one, thing that people don't quite, grasp, because a lot of people don't do this, with their metadata, or they don't need to deal with it because the publishing company or whatever takes care of it for them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like when I did my records back in the day, the studio took care of all that.
Right.
Which we can do too, and you can do. It just it does take money.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah, it does take money to put all that together, and time. Yeah. So going back to that, just to comment at what I did earlier, but yeah, as far as fees and stuff like that, for production, I think it's very popular right now, and so there's a lot of people inquiring and open to looking at proposals and stuff like that. So that's good. At least that's starting back up. Mm-hmm. And what kind of things do you do? Okay, so you've created a bunch of music. You're still creating music. People are going to check it out. Check it out there at your websites in the link of the description. And I'll be working with you in the future. I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I feel like we are going to be doing that. What things do you do to keep steady in your life? And try and keep yourself in check.
That's a good question.
And and what are your main focuses or what are some of the things you wish you could spend more time on? Even other than the music. I would like to write. We never did really address that, but when I get all caught up in media and productions, then I lose track of my own, music in a way, but yet not in a way. Right. It's kind of weird. It's weird,
I struggled with that for a while, and I have a life coach that helps me, and I meet with her like twice a week, and I literally have it structured like a time clock. I literally get up and I pretend like I'm going to work, and I eat lunch at the same time every day. I keep a structure. I go lift weights or walk at a certain time of the day, and that's really important because it's really like doing this. There's nobody to hold you accountable. I mean, you may have clients.
Bad stuff, monster drink.
Yeah, I have a tendency to drink those too. But you need to hold you accountable, because there isn't always someone else to hold you accountable. And this is kind of like what this lady does.
I know, that's what I've had to learn too. Good point.
It's like we meet 2-3 about twice a week, once, sometimes, lately like once a week, because we've been going on vacations a lot, which is kind of a perk, is I can go where get up and leave whenever I want, more or less. But but still, it is easy to get ungrounded when you're just doing working on music, which it is a job. It's not. People have this idea in their head that it's all everyone's sitting around the studio hanging out, having a good time, just doing whatever. But it's work.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work
and stress, and it makes you stressed sometimes.
Absolutely.
Just so you all know.
And you can get frustrated. You can get
burnt frustrated out. Right now. Just watching the numbers on the cast. Well, one mistake I made is I went from InfoWin New News, which I didn't mean to. I thought I was on Purple Theater. But at any rate, it went out to the pages, I think. I don't even know if it went there. But so I made a little mistake, but I'm not so worried about it. It's a great podcast, and it'll go up on the website at all the websites, Woodwind and InfoWind and Rumble. It'll be on Rumble and all that. Cool. But, what advice would you give somebody, trying to, what would be their first steps if they're trying to gain, or just trying to, I don't know, what kind of people do you like to mentor, I guess?
I mostly people that are serious about getting into it. I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and there's a lot of people that will use like Fruity Loops and make a few beats, and all of a sudden they're a CEO of their production company.
Right. It's bringing up
not
left
those
and
kind
right.
of people.
Yeah, left and right. There's a new one every day. Yep.
Yeah. So more of like when I see something in someone, I mean, there's so many like just great songwriters, and I got a really good friend that I help out quite a bit. He lives in the Virgin Islands, and basically he just plays on ships, for a mix of good living at it too. I mean, it's a heck of a life. I'll give him that. And boy, is he a good songwriter. I help him out, make his songs and stuff like that. And this guy should be famous. I mean, he's just a fantastic voice, a fantastic guitar player. I mean, I think he's one of the best songwriters I've heard. I mean, but I'm sure that happens a lot. It depends on who gets noticed and who doesn't. It's just, there's so many talented people out there, and that's kind of, with the advent of cheaper and cheaper studio equipment, the competition's getting pretty fierce, for, in all facets of music. I mean, so much so, it's almost like that your traditional songwriter where you might write for, I don't know, like Adele or something. I'm being a little spectacular here, but that's not really that big of a thing anymore. It's that's kind of taken care of. So the next thing is the TV thing, I suppose. And that's where now that's kind of getting crowded too. Because I'm late to the game myself. There's people that have been doing this for years that are way ahead of me, and that's part of my downfalls too, is comparing myself to other people, which I shouldn't do. And they'll even tell me, don't compare yourself to me, I've been doing this for years. Wow. So
I plan on sitting in front of these cancer screens for probably too long, and so I'll be here, and we'll be going live every once in a while. Yeah, with some new songs or something, and I want to do some just some shorter blasts, talk about one particular release, and then just get off and get off the airways and just let the video kind of roll out.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I'm here for that. So that's part of my job. So I do the work, so you don't have to. I try and put together a nice looking show.
Yeah, that's great, and and these are great for just getting out there and stuff, and people seeing you at there's something a lot of people that I think are just interested in just seeing what friends that I have online, like what does he really look like, or what is he?
So talk about this track, Traffic,
sure,
and then we'll listen to it a little bit here in just a second. And talk about that track. When did you release that?
That was pretty within the last couple of weeks.
Right. And so are you still working on the sync licensing and all that, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's going to be part of an album of 10 to 12 tracks that are similar to that. Okay. That I got those two so far, and I got another one that I basically finished yesterday, and just keep going forward. I mean, I'm getting faster at knocking these out.
Yeah, me too. That's one thing I'm pretty happy with. I could, I got the Burning Witch. I got to burn those witches song out of this whole deal. I've been in some weird moods. I got this new studio now, that's set up very different than what I'm used to, but it's cool. And and all that. But yeah, here's a little bit of this track, everybody. I think it's cool. This is kind of techno, pretty basic techno.
Very kind of nice.
It's just good techno. It's kind of stuff I'm kind of experimenting with lately. Hold on. I'll have to turn it down. I just want to leave it up loud for a little bit.
sure about that, but if that fit or not.
Love it.
Yeah, I thought about throwing stuff like that over it.
I can do all that.
Hold on, don't get. I was like,
I can do some really cool stuff with this. Yeah. And the rap starts up right here. Now, my son always says, don't ruin it with lyrics, Dad. He'll say, don't ruin it with lyrics, Dad.
Yeah.
Pretty much. He likes to do musicals, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But every once in a while, he'll belt it out, too, singing. So one day he will. And then my daughter, she's out singing with a band, a little band now, and her boyfriend's a drummer in the band. And so she's singing some backup vocals.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. So when you start a song lately, how do you normally start out? Are you like me where you're thinking, and we'll end the podcast a little bit after this question. When you start a song out lately over the last year or so, and then another question is just going about culture and how you're feeling about politics and culture in general. What your plans are to participate or not participate, that kind of thing. Just give a little overview of that. But yeah.
Okay. Like if I'm doing something like that, generally I will start out just. I watched. There's I have a friend that does this, and he's kind of just start putting little ideas down. You're not making a song. You're just putting ideas down. So then those ideas kind of, meld into, you put a beat to it, move them around, and, pretty soon you got a decent beat going, and, you just kind of add on that. It's completely different than writing like a song with lyrics. In those instances, I have a really weird, or developed a really kind of weird technique to where I'll think of a hook first before I'll even think of what kind of music is going to go. And kind of the reason for that is the way I used to do it is I would write a lot of it on guitar. And, and when you're doing that on guitar, you make up a cool riff, and then you'll come in, with your lyric or a melody or something like that. You put the guitar part first. No, I don't really use guitar that much anymore. So a lot of it's like.
But you're starting out with music, it sounds like, first. So like, with me, I'm a lyricist for I'm a singer.
Right, yeah.
I'm a vocalist. So basically, I always have, this is my data recorder I've had for years, and it's a little tape. Well, it works great for capturing things,
exactly like that.
But I use the phone too now.
Yeah. Anyway. So it usually starts out with a melody or lyrics, and then the music develops around it, because I feel like when you create the music first, then you're forcing the key element of the song, which is the lyrics and the melody, to fit into that cradle. Now, if you take the most important song, again, which is the lyrics, or most important part of the song, which is the lyrics and the melody, and you let that dictate where the music goes, it seems to just kind of glide, just so much better. I mean, it's not saying you can't do it either way. They both work. It's just, it's something that I've started doing. And I think I got this idea from, it was one of the best books I've ever read on songwriting. And ironically, it's called something like The Complete Idiot's Guide to Songwriting. It's one of the best songwriting books you could ever read. It's just the guy who wrote it was he's an Emmy, whatever, or not Emmy.
What's it called again?
An Oscar. The Complete Idiot's Guide to Songwriting. It has some of the best lines, like one-liners, that I could pick up off of it. And one of them was, and I'll never forget this, it was, don't pay attention to the man, pay attention to the stain on his shirt. That's where the story is.
Oh my God.
And if you don't know it, just make it.
That's funny. Yeah. So so songwriting for you usually it's still in your head that you have a little melody or a piece of lyric.
Yeah, it'll start like with a melody, piece of lyric, or an idea, and I generally go that route first, and then start putting the music to it. Now, that said, I know kind of in my head where the music is going to go. It's just it's like I feel like my head is like this multi-track recorder that can kind of put these parts together somehow, and play them individually. It's not easy, but if you really concentrate, you can, at least have 4 channels in your brain running at the same time. More than that, it might be pushed. It depends on your CPU power, I guess, and your, how much CPU power you have going in your head.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So and then usually do you do any prep before you start working on it? Do you get a cup of coffee? Do you do any meditation? Do you ever do any
breathing exercises?
So breathing.
The coach I talked to is Indian, so she's very much into all that kind of stuff, breathing and meditating, and it's something that I've just started doing every day. That it really helps because it can take. This is very isolating too. As far as being, I like being around people, and essentially I'm stuck indoors pretty much most all day. Even though I'm free to leave whenever I want, I need to be here to work. And that's part of it too. It's working from home is not all that it's cracked up to be. It can be, mentally.
It's like really an insane asylum sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
I got to get out of here. I got to leave.
Especially, look at these walls. They're padded already, at least.
I don't know if that's the book, but it's The Complete Idiot's Guide, and then it just says songwriting apart.
That's probably it.
By Joel Hirschhorn.
Yeah, despite the title, it's a very intelligently written book.
Okay. So anyway, I put that up on the podcast for people
I just
research.
thought it was great. I saw it. And I was just like at a half price bookstore or something like that, and I'm just I gotta read this. And then I was just like, wow, this guy's really insightful.
That's awesome.
Deceiving title for sure.
Yeah, and well, very good. Any last words for the podcast today? And really, just I don't have other than that, we didn't really get into the cultural stuff or anything that you have to say about politics. I usually like to, but if you don't want to talk that's fine. I don't really care about politics. My stance is I care about the issues that are happening. So I talk about the issues, how people are being affected. Of course, we're going to focus a little more on the negative when it comes to that as a news agency, because that's just the way it is. You just don't go out there and I wish I could just spend, and that's really what this is all about. This 60% of my broadcasting will be about entertainment and music and creativity. And in 2022, and so the reason for that was to surround myself with more positive vibes around me, people that are pushing in the same direction that I am in terms of positive creativity. And so that's, does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
See, I get lost of where I was going with that, but that's too much marijuana as a young child. But anyway, some of my idols in music, maybe we could close with that, and then if you want to address anything culturally going on in the world today, you can. My influence is probably in terms of long-term people that I just look up to would be Robert Plant, the lead singer, and I always forget his name, of Pink Floyd. Just really good singers.
Roger Waters.
Roger Waters. Yeah, just really good, vocalists, that have this. When they take the stage, it's you hear the voice, you go, oh yeah, okay. Now I know, how they created those great records.
I was friends with him like on LinkedIn, and he blocked me for some reason.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of weird shit going on in that. We could go on all night about that, but hell with that. Yeah. It's like there's a lot of weird political culture that we're dealing with. So I'm kind of writing songs to send messages out, to try and change some vibrations out there, maybe get people to think a little bit through music. So that's what some of my productions seem to be gravitating towards lately. But from musically and so I don't know, hopefully my question made sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this about culture, and I was thinking about this today, and it's like, people would think, oh geez, I just love to be young again, and that thought has completely gone out of my mind. I am so glad that I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I don't know if there was a better time to grow up, because as far as being a young person today, I'll stay where I am. Yeah. I do not want to be young again.
Definitely. I feel for him, and I just wish, from my standpoint, like I said, I politically and all that stuff, I just look at the issues that are happening, and right now my major concern is just the surveillance state altogether. But anyway. What was the other question we wanted to close with? Your people that you idol. So I was talking about, in music, and
right.
Neil Young. I actually like Neil Young. Aside the politics, aside anything like that. But anyway,
I would say I was like, one changing moment for me for sure was being probably 12 or 13 years old and watching Headbangers Ball in this band Guns N' Roses comes on. Never heard of them, and I was like, wow. And so I learned the whole album by ear, because they didn't have books or internet then, or out for that. And I just like Slash. I wanted to be like Slash when I was a kid, which may or may not have been a good thing.
Well, Hollywood really had us back then too. By the way,
absolutely. Yeah, that was boy. Yeah,
they had us by the,
Yeah, it was
by
very,
the almighty dollar and the fame,
wild and entertaining, and just off the wall. Kind of his guitar playing was nuts. Yeah, and I just took to it instantly.
Okay.
And so I would say, stylistically, I probably have a lot more in common with him than I do probably anyone else, because I literally learned most of his stuff up until the Use Your Illusion stuff. I didn't really care for him after that. Yeah. I like the raw, the just rock and roll, like. They're kind of like a Rolling Stones, like the way their guitars were mixed. Here's an interesting story, and this is how I got really good at playing guitar. I think, anyways. This is what set me up to start playing in a band. Was and how boom boxes, they would have that kind of useless pan control, because the speakers were like right next to each other, but they did have a pan control. Now, when they mixed Appetite for Destruction, they mixed the guitars hard left and hard right. So what I could do was I could turn one of the guitar players completely off, and I could be playing along with Guns N' Roses and taking the, filling in their spot. And
cool.
That made me an amazing guitar player really quick, because I was going back and forth between both of them. I was playing both their parts, and it just totally set me up to where, by the time I was 13 years old, I was ready to join a band.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really great that we can produce so quickly now, and even with the headaches, there's still a lot of headaches. Trust me, folks.
Yeah.
But we can produce pretty quick. I use DaVinci Resolve now, and I'm trying to become an expert on that now, so that's my next
That's pretty
thing.
complicated. I think I tried it once.
It's it's different than what I've been using for years, and so now it's a new learning curve, but it's producing some nice stuff, so I'm getting some good results out of it. And musically, I've always used Cubase, which has been in my in my hardware, or I need a new piece of hardware actually, and all that. But so let's see. So other influences other than Guns N' Roses. Do you remember what was your?
Definitely. I mean,
were you into? I was into love songs, so I was like this lover boy. So I was in a love song.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, a lot of the
And
60s
rock.
bands when I was around that age too, like the Doors, like Led Zeppelin, for whatever reason, like during that time period. And I guess I look at that now, I walk around and I see, kids wearing Nirvana shirts and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, I wonder if they look at that like I did the Doors, because the time period is about the same,
Right.
when I was a kid to when, the Doors were around and popular to as they're, young as Nirvana was, so long ago.
For sure. Yeah, I'm queuing up your song for the extra.
Sure.
So anyway, all right. Well, hey, I had a good time, and I hope that we can, work out some shows that are kind of more to point. We could do some things like that on music and really,
Sure.
this was kind of like an open interview type form. But to all the producers that come on the show are always welcome to say, "Hey, Joe, I want to have a little podcast about this, or I want to have a podcast about that." If that's something you're interested in, all people out there that they're able to do that, and just communicate through that email and then schedule it out. And hopefully, I wasn't too happy with the Facebook result tonight. I'm just not even looking at it because I'll get depressed. And so, it's just disappointing. When you have 5,200 followers on your main page, you've got 9,000 on other pages. The 20 pages, 9,000 or more. And you see these numbers, that are just so minuscule, and you're going, oh yeah, okay. They probably got a copyright strike on it and closing it in 280 countries.
Hopefully not.
Anyway, they do that to me all the time, and it's just frustrating. But anyway, so thank you for coming on, and thanks for being part of the new kickoff. Purple Theater started about 8 months ago, and we did a couple Nashville interviews, and then I had a studio I had to get out of and move, so then I had almost 5 months of almost nothing, and we were doing some types of streaming, but not much, and then so now we're back and going full bore on different types of media. I'm excited. So I hope you have a good night, and thanks for spending the time with me, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you soon, okay?
All right, see you.
All right, and the extra here, everybody, we're going to hear this song. I'm going to put it on, and we'll mute ourselves, or Matt will be gone, and it'll be just really just a good play of this music that he puts together. And if you have a need for music, make sure you get a hold of Matt. The website is in the description of this video, and it'll be there anytime you need it, and you can contact him through the website. And then infowindnewnews.com, this show will be displayed there, and Woodwind MG, this show will be displayed there. If I get to it tonight, we'll see. I'm kind of tired. But within the next day or 24 hours, it'll be up on the websites. So God bless everybody, and don't know what else to say, but do some creative stuff. Get involved with us. If you're a musician that writes songs, that has ideas for songs, somebody that's needing some extra support, that's what we're here for. Right, Matt?
Yep.
Okay, buddy. All right, everybody. So we'll see you all soon. And thanks again, Matt.
All right, thanks for having me.
You bet, buddy. Okay, I'm going to just right now we're not on camera on the program. So thanks again, Matt.
All right, thanks for having me. I'd like to do it again
Bye.